At some point, Facebook Marketplace stopped being about used furniture and became a stage for the beautifully unhinged. It's the only place you can find a gently used coffin listed next to a potato that looks like Elvis. We've journeyed into the heart of this bizarre bazaar, where people aren't just selling items, they're trying to monetize their own delusion. And we found 49 masterpieces of the craft. 1. Behold, a single tortilla chip from Indiana listed for sale because it looked exactly like the state of Texas. I mean, the resemblance was uncanny. A perfect outline right down to the little curve of the Gulf Coast. For a mere $50, it was marketed to collectors, or, I guess, Texans, who just really miss the shape of home. The most absurd part? It sold almost immediately. This just confirms the first rule of American commerce. If you can deep fry it into the shape of a state, someone with more money than sense will absolutely buy it. 2. Ever wonder how much you can trust a stranger on the internet? An Ohio seller put that to the test by listing celebrity chewed gum. Supposedly spat out by an actor, the evidence provided was, and I quote, "Trust me, it's legit." That's it. For anyone who actually considered buying a piece of pre-masticated gum based on a stranger's pinky promise, I have to say, it's not just a questionable purchase. It feels more like a cry for help disguised as memorabilia collecting. And I sincerely hope you find the support you need. 3. For anyone going through a tough breakup, a hero in Minnesota offered a surprisingly thoughtful service. Custom playlists for just $5. You'd pour out your tale of woe, and they would craft the perfect Spotify soundtrack for your misery, filled with angry anthems and painfully specific Taylor Swift songs. That's a level of emotional dedication that costs hundreds in therapy, and that my friends have certainly never offered. It's misery monetization at its absolute finest, and frankly, I have to respect the hustle. 4. Apparently, those plastic spoons you get with your takeout aren't trash. According to a seller in Nebraska, they are limited edition collector's items from the golden age of drive-thrus. The pitch was that in 50 years, these would be priceless artifacts. This is the exact same logic that left thousands of adults with closets full of worthless stuffed animals. In half a century, these won't be worth millions. They'll just be more plastic in a landfill, but with a sad, documented backstory of misplaced hope. 5. There's a fine line between ambition and delusion, and a man in Pennsylvania built a suit of armor right on top of it. Made entirely from aluminum foil, he listed his creation for $75, insisting it was battle-ready for LARPing. Battle-ready for what exactly? A gentle breeze? A confrontation with a mildly curious squirrel? Any conflict involving actual movement would result in catastrophic failure. It's less a suit of armor and more a wearable baked potato, ready for the microwave. 6. If you enjoy gambling but find casinos too safe and predictable, someone in Idaho had the perfect product for you, a mystery snack bag. The listing came with a terrifyingly honest warning. Some items may be expired, but that's part of the thrill. They weren't hiding the danger, they were marketing it as a feature. This isn't a fun surprise. It's a game of gastric Russian roulette. This isn't for foodies. It's for people who look at expiration dates and see a personal challenge from the universe. 7. Here's a business model for the modern age. Outsourcing your pettiness. For $10, an Oregon entrepreneur offered to design custom pranks. You'd provide details on your target, and they'd supply a step-by-step guide to annoyance. One review praised a plan to fill a roommate's shampoo with blue food coloring, calling the resulting week of blue hair worth every penny. It's the gig economy for personal grudges. You get creative vengeance without the effort of thinking. That's what I call progress. 8. For sale in Colorado, a stunning collection of high-end, rare air guitars. The listings were works of art, with descriptions like rare vintage model, plays smoothly, no strings attached. You have to admire the technical accuracy of that last part. The sales pitch was flawless, and the best part? Every purchase came with a free air amplifier. You have to respect the sheer audacity. They weren't selling a product, they were selling imagination. And for a small fee, they'd even imagine an amplifier for you. Genius. 9. In Massachusetts, a seller offered a collection of rejected Hallmark movie scripts. Their claim? These were stories too ridiculous even for Hallmark's holiday lineup, which is an incredibly high bar. The titles alone were masterpieces of absurdity, including gems like Christmas at the Waffle House and The Ghost Who Stole Valentine's Day. Honestly, I'd watch both of those before another movie about a big city CEO finding love with a small-town Christmas tree farmer. Somebody at Netflix needs to get on this immediately. This isn't rejected content. It's a goldmine of glorious, unhinged holiday entertainment. 10. An entrepreneur in Iowa came up with a business plan that is both brilliantly stupid and stupidly brilliant, selling celebrity leaves. These were just random leaves from their yard, but each was meticulously labeled with names like Leonardo DiCaprio's maple or Taylor Swift's oak. The justification was a masterclass in flawed logic. Celebrities breathe air. These leaves use that same air. Therefore, the leaves are famous by association. You can't even argue with that level of confidence. It's 6 degrees of separation, but for photosynthesis. It's not just a leaf. It's an artifact touched by the same oxygen as a star. 11. Someone in Washington looked at the humble pet rock and thought, this isn't enough. So they launched a pet rock upgrade service. For $15, you could mail them your boring, inanimate stone, and they would send it back with a complete makeover. Googly eyes, a tiny custom hat, or even a full outfit tailored to its personality. One photo showed a rock dressed as a cowboy, lasso, and all. Imagine the conversation at the post office. What's in the box? Oh, just a rock on its way to a spa day. That's not a service, it's a rock witness protection program. 12. If you've ever wanted your voicemail to actively scare people into leaving a message, a seller in Alabama had you covered. They offered custom voicemail greetings from my pet parrot. According to the reviews, the parrot's vocabulary was mostly limited to screaming, "Where's my cracker?" on a loop. And yet, one buyer swore it tripled their callback rate, claiming people were either too curious or too terrified not to respond. It's unintentional genius, weaponizing pure, unfiltered avian annoyance into a powerful business communication tool. That's a power move. 13. Feeling like your life lacks a compelling narrative? A seller in Michigan offered to fix that with personalized superhero origin stories. You'd give them your details and they'd craft an entire backstory for you, complete with unique superpowers and a tragic past. One glowing review stated, "I never knew I needed radioactive spaghetti powers until now, but here we are." This is for people whose lives are so devoid of excitement, they need to pay a stranger to invent a backstory where they were bitten by a radioactive noodle. I wonder what the hero name is. The Al Dente Avenger? 14. A Portland-based problem solver offered a service for the romantically challenged, custom breakup excuses for $10. Their creative gems ranged from, "It's not you, it's your pet ferret," to the deeply relatable, "I need to focus on my career as a competitive napper." The reviews were overwhelmingly positive, though one person noted their partner actually agreed with the ridiculous excuse and wished them well in their napping career. That must have been an awkward moment of self-reflection. When your fake, absurd excuse sounds plausible, you might have bigger problems. 15. From the great state of Arizona came a listing for magic beans. What made them magic, you ask? They were ordinary pinto beans completely covered in glitter. The ad promised, "Plant these and watch your dreams grow," followed by the crucial disclaimer, "Dreams not guaranteed." You have to appreciate the legal foresight. At least when Jack planted his beans, he got a giant and a golden goose. With these, you just get a sparkly garden and the slow, crushing realization that you paid money for a vegetable that's been vandalized with craft supplies. 16. Leave it to Florida to redefine luxury. Someone was selling a DIY spa experience that consisted of a small bag of Epsom salt, a single scented tea light candle, and a YouTube link to relaxing ocean sounds. For $10, the seller's pitch was, "Why spend hundreds at a fancy spa?" And you know what? In this economy, they might have a point. Lighting a 50-cent candle and soaking your feet in a bucket while pretending you're somewhere exotic is basically the new American dream. It's sad, it's resourceful, and it's deeply, deeply Florida. 17. South Dakota presented one of the most wonderfully bizarre listings: celebrity eye contact. For $5, the seller would provide a blurry, poorly timed photo of a celebrity like Beyoncé or The Rock, caught mid-blink, with the caption, "They're totally looking at you." They would even add your name to the digital file for a personal touch. Forget a smoldering, glamorous gaze. This was the awkward, confused stare of someone who just walked into the wrong room. Imagine hanging that over your bed. It's not just creepy, it's a monument to parasocial delusion. 18. In Louisiana, a true innovator tried to disrupt the tattoo industry by selling a DIY tattoo kit. The kit contained exactly 2 items: a Sharpie marker and a packet of Band-Aids. The instructions were simple and vaguely dangerous. Draw whatever you want on your skin, cover it with a Band-Aid, and presto, a temporary tattoo. This is the kind of brilliant, low-budget idea you'd expect from a 5-year-old. But here it is, monetized for adults. It's less of a product and more of a public health advisory disguised as a fun craft project. 19. And now we go to Florida naturally, where someone was selling a single-used flip-flop. The description was a masterpiece of misplaced optimism, calling it well-loved and looking for its forever home. It even suggested a target market: people with 1 foot or anyone who tragically lost their left flip-flop at the beach. That's thoughtful, I suppose. But it was the $15 price tag that truly elevated this from trash to art. For that price, I expect that lone flip-flop to come with a hidden treasure map or at least the secret to eternal youth. Anything less feels like a ripoff. 20. Over in Vermont, a seller listed a haunted painting that, based on the photos, looked suspiciously like a high school art project gone horribly wrong. The seller insisted the painting's eyes followed you and that it once moved slightly during a thunderstorm. You know, just like every other object in a house with old foundations. Is this a genuine portal to the netherworld? Or is it just a really clever marketing strategy to offload a piece of art that even the artist's mother wouldn't hang up? My money is on the latter, but you never know. 21. A seller in Colorado found a brilliant way to deal with their laundry problem. They started selling mystery socks. These were just single, unmatched socks, advertised with the promise that they'd arrive with a mysterious past and no explanation, just like most of my exes. The ad further targeted people who've given up on finding true love or matching laundry. This isn't just selling socks, it's selling a lifestyle. It's a subscription box for people who have fully embraced chaos and have decided that life is just too short to pair up socks. 22. North Carolina gave us something truly special: handcrafted dust bunnies. And I'm not talking about simple clumps of filth swept from under a couch. No, these were artisanal creations with tiny outfits and detailed backstories. One was named Sir Dustington III, a distinguished gentleman who had allegedly survived under the bed for 3 years. This is a level of creative absurdity that borders on genius. It's taking something utterly worthless and giving it a name, a history, and a completely unearned sense of dignity. I'm not sure if it's art, but it's definitely something. 23. In New York, a seller offered a service that feels deeply necessary in today's world: custom bedtime stories for adults. For $20, they would write and record a personalized story where you are the hero, whether that meant winning the lottery or finally figuring out how to file your taxes without crying. One review raved, "I fell asleep to the sound of me becoming president and banning Monday mornings." Forget meditation apps. This is the kind of targeted escapism we all truly need. I'd pay double for a story where my back doesn't randomly hurt for no reason. 24. Tennessee's contribution to this list is a work of art from nature itself: a potato that looked uncannily like Elvis Presley. The resemblance was shockingly good, with a sprout forming a perfect pompadour and dirt smudges creating sideburns. The asking price was $100, which honestly feels a bit low for a vegetable deity. This wasn't just a potato, it was the king of spuds. You couldn't possibly turn it into French fries. That would be less like cooking and more like a culinary act of sacrilege. The world just wasn't ready for it. 25. Someone in Vermont created a business that sounds like a joke, but is actually a service for our times: personalized, awkward silences. For $5, they would schedule a phone call, say hello, and then just sit in complete, unnerving silence for as long as you wanted. The ad pitched it as perfect for introverts who want company but not conversation. One reviewer even joked it was the most comfortable silence I've ever paid for. In a world of constant noise and forced small talk, paying someone to just quietly exist with you might be the greatest luxury of all. 26. From the high-concept art scene of Miami came a listing for a banana duct taped to a wall, with an asking price of $1,000. When a potential buyer questioned the cost, the seller's explanation was simple, profound, and utterly insane. It's art. This is clearly inspired by that gallery piece that sold for over $100,000. So when you think about it, this person wasn't being greedy. They were offering a massive discount on avant-garde fruit-based installations. It's a bargain, really. You just have to have the vision to see it. 27. A seller in Wisconsin catered to a very specific and possibly non-existent market by offering invisible cat leashes. These were described as perfect for imaginary feline friends or for real cats that simply refuse to cooperate with the laws of physics. The ad highlighted the key benefits: no tangles, no scratches, and best of all, no actual cat required. The true genius was in the bonus feature. If your invisible cat runs away, you'll never have to post missing flyers. This isn't a product. It's a problem-solving masterpiece for a problem that doesn't exist. 28. In Georgia, an ambitious seller posted a time travel starter kit. Of course, it wasn't a functioning DeLorean. The kit consisted of an old, broken alarm clock, a pair of swimming goggles, and a small handwritten note that read, "Step 1, believe." And you know what? That's probably the most honest and inspiring self-help advice I've ever seen. Forget complex theories and expensive seminars. This person boiled down the secret to achieving the impossible to its beautiful, simple, and utterly delusional core. It's worthless as a time machine, but priceless as a motivational poster. 29. A seller in Texas decided the vague promises of regular fortune cookies weren't enough, so they started selling ones with brutally honest fortunes. We're talking gems like, your Wi-Fi password will never work the first time, or today's the day you'll forget why you walked into a room. One buyer review summed it up perfectly. I got one that said, your crush knows you exist, but wishes they didn't. Forget vague predictions about future prosperity. This is the kind of soul-crushing realism we need. It's no longer a dessert. It's a tiny, edible roast session. 30. Someone in Kentucky offered up a time capsule from 2020, which was just a shoebox filled with a face mask, hand sanitizer, a single roll of toilet paper, and a note that read, "We survived." It feels a little too soon to be nostalgic about a year that felt like a decade-long anxiety attack. This isn't a historical artifact. It's a neatly packaged box of recent trauma. It's the perfect gift for someone you want to remind of the great toilet paper famine. I can't decide if it's hilarious or just sad. 31. From Massachusetts came a gently used crystal ball with a refreshingly honest disclaimer. Sometimes accurate, sometimes just shows Netflix recommendations. You have to appreciate the transparency. If my future just consists of endlessly scrolling through streaming services trying to find something to watch, then this isn't a faulty crystal ball. It's the most accurate psychic artifact ever created. It's not predicting the future, it's just holding up a mirror to my current, pathetic reality. No refund needed. 32. In Washington, a true visionary offered mood rings for your houseplants. These were just small plastic rings that, by the seller's own admission, did absolutely nothing. The ad brilliantly stated, "They don't actually work, but your fern doesn't have to know that." It was marketed to plant parents who need a little more drama in their living room. This is the pinnacle of solving problems that don't exist. You're not just buying a piece of plastic. You're buying the right to project your own anxieties onto an innocent houseplant. 33. Tennessee brought us a product that is both heartwarming and deeply strange: emotional support band-aids. Each one featured a handwritten message like, "You got this," or "Tough times don't last." The seller promised they were for both physical and emotional boo-boos. One review said, "I scraped my knee, and the Band-Aid told me I was a warrior. Honestly, in a world this relentless, maybe what we all need is an adhesive strip that believes in us more than we believe in ourselves. It's cheaper than therapy, at least. 34. A listing from Kentucky made me stop and reread it about 5 times. Someone was selling a gently used coffin for $300. The description was short, simple, and utterly terrifying. Only used once, still in great condition. I have so many questions, and I'm not sure I want the answers to any of them. Who was the previous occupant? And more importantly, why did they vacate? This isn't a bargain, it's the beginning of a horror movie. You're not buying a coffin, you're buying a roommate who's very, very quiet. 35. If you find soothing alarm tones too gentle, a seller in Massachusetts had the service for you. They offered to come and yell custom motivational messages outside your window every morning. For just $20 a week, you could be jolted awake by a complete stranger screaming, "Conquer the day, Kevin!" It's a bold business strategy that straddles the line between life coaching and a public nuisance complaint. Imagine explaining that to your neighbors. No, he's not a lunatic. He's my motivational guru. 36. Someone in Mississippi cornered the market on accessories for imaginary friends by selling invisible pet collars. For $10, you could get a collar that was, of course, completely non-existent. The ad boasted, "Perfect for all your invisible pets. Adjustable size, zero maintenance." You have to admire the pure, unadulterated genius of this business model. There's no product, no inventory, no shipping costs, just pure profit from people with active imaginations and $10 to spare. It's capitalism perfected. 37. In Alabama, a used mattress was listed for sale with a uniquely poetic feature: "May contain dreams." Not stains, not bedbugs, not a decade of someone else's back sweat, just dreams. It's a beautifully creative way to say, I have absolutely no idea what has happened on this thing. It's less of a sales pitch and more of a philosophical warning. While it sounds lovely, it's also the single best argument I've ever heard for buying a brand new mattress, preferably one that hasn't been pre-dreamed in. 38. A true entrepreneur in Nevada started a Moonlight subscription service. For $5 a month, they would text you every time there was a full moon, reminding you to go outside and howl responsibly. The service even included personalized lunar horoscopes, like, "Tonight's moon says you should avoid impulse online shopping." Or "Don't, I'm not your mom." It's a completely useless service that I absolutely want to sign up for. They're not just selling a reminder, they're selling a monthly dose of weird, charming chaos delivered straight to your phone. 39. From Houston, Texas, we have a seller listing a vintage iPhone charger from 2010 for $500. Their justification was that it was a piece of tech history and an essential collectible. Let's be real for a moment. This isn't a rare artifact. It's an obsolete, frayed charging cable that probably takes 6 hours to give you 10% battery. Calling this a collector's item is like calling a used paper cup a piece of antique pottery. It's not history. It's just old junk that someone hopes a tech-obsessed fool will mistake for an investment. 40. In California, a genius started selling motivational coffee cup sleeves with messages that were less about inspiration and more about grim solidarity. Slogans included, "You've survived 100% of your Monday so far," and the beautifully cynical, "Caffeine, because punching people is frowned upon." But the true masterpiece was the sleeve that simply read, "If Britney survived 2007, you can survive this workday." This isn't just a product, it's a public service. It's for people who don't need a pep talk, they just need a reminder that things could be worse. 41. A seller in New Mexico offered DIY time capsules, which were, in reality, just empty shoeboxes. The detailed instructions included steps like, put stuff inside, bury it, dig it up later. For an extra $5, they would even write, "Do not open until 2040, on the lid in fancy handwriting. This is capitalism at its most beautifully lazy. They're not selling a product. They're selling a solution to your own crippling procrastination. If you can't be bothered to find your own box, maybe paying someone is the only way you'll preserve your memories. 42. An Oklahoma resident decided their dryer lint wasn't trash, but a craft supply. They were selling bags of homegrown lint, collected over 3 years, described as soft, colorful, and ready for your next project. They even had a premium version with mystery items hidden inside, like lost buttons or toy parts. This crosses a line from weird into biohazard territory. Who is buying this? And for what? This isn't crafting. It's building a small, flammable sculpture out of 3 years of your own dead skin cells and fabric debris. 43. In Colorado, someone was selling authentic tumbleweeds, complete with a certificate of authenticity that looked like it was created in Microsoft Word 5 minutes before posting. The seller pitched it as bringing a piece of the Wild West for your living room. I have a cheaper idea. Just stop mowing your lawn for a month. You'll get the same aesthetic for free. Paying for a tumbleweed is like paying for a jar of air. It's a piece of nature that is actively trying to get away from you, and now you want to trap it in your house? 44. An Arizona listing offered a jar of darkness. Literally, an empty mason jar sealed shut with black duct tape. The seller claimed to have captured the purest darkness from my closet at midnight, warning buyers to open at your own risk. They even included a disclaimer for any resulting curses or existential crises. For $15, you could own a jar of absolutely nothing, but with a fantastic and terrifying backstory. Part of me knows it's a scam, but another, stupider part of me is desperately curious about what would happen if you opened it. 45. Let's talk about the pinnacle of low-effort scams, this time from Texas. Someone listed a vintage air fryer, which turned out to be an old toaster oven with a sticky note that said air fryer slapped on it. The description read, "Works just as well, minus the fancy buttons. Who needs technology when you have imagination?" This isn't just a bad deal. It's a philosophical statement. It's the culinary version of drawing a six-pack on your stomach with a marker. It's not an appliance. It's an audacity test. 46. Florida, of course, got creative with a listing for pet soap bubbles. The product was a simple bottle of bubble solution with a heartwarming and slightly tragic label. Each bubble is a new pet. Love them while they last. At least these pets don't shed, need food, or require expensive vet visits. One buyer even claimed their cat loved them. It's the perfect pet for someone with commitment issues. You get all the joy of ownership for about 7 seconds, followed by the inevitable, heartbreaking pop of reality. 47. A seller in Maine offered something truly baffling. Hand-knitted spaghetti. And yes, it was exactly what it sounds like. Strands of yarn meticulously shaped into spaghetti, complete with little crocheted meatballs. The seller claimed it was perfect for pasta lovers with gluten intolerance. I mean, they're not wrong. This is probably the safest bowl of spaghetti you could ever eat, mainly because it's completely inedible. It's not food. It's a cry for help from someone who has way too much yarn and free time. 48. During the peak of social distancing, a hero in Florida brought us DIY social distancing sticks. These were simply pool noodles attached to a headband, creating a 6-foot radius of personal space around you. The ad read, "Stay safe, stay stylish, and poke anyone who gets too close." Honestly, this should have been standard issue equipment. It's a fashion statement, a safety device, and a socially acceptable way to gently assault people who don't understand personal boundaries. It's multitasking at its finest. 49. In Montana, a practical yet greedy seller listed snowman repair kits. The kit was a Ziploc bag containing a few carrots, some pieces of coal, and a tiny scarf. The ad cheerfully pitched it as the perfect solution for when your frosty friend needs a facelift. The idea is cute, but the $20 price tag is where it becomes a hustle. For that price, you could buy a whole bag of carrots, a bag of charcoal, and knit a better scarf yourself. This isn't a kit. It's just an expensive bag of vegetables and rocks. And there you have it. 49 arguments for why the internet was probably a mistake. Now for the confession. Down in the comments, tell me which of these items you secretly thought was a good idea. Was it the air guitar? The jar of darkness? No lying. If you enjoy this brand of chaos, hit subscribe and give this video a like to prove to the algorithm that our little community of questionable taste is the best on YouTube.